Tuketi, nashukuru. Asante sana. Wakenya wenzangu, hamjambo. Hamjambo tena. Happy Jamhuri Day. Distinguished guests, my fellow Kenyans, 55 years ago today, our beautiful flag was hoisted for the first time, announcing our pride in the independence we had won. It embraced our identity as a free people and recalled the sacrifices that had been made to win our freedom and laid claim to our blessed land. Our national anthem was heard for the first time, praying for unity, peace, justice, and liberty, and then calling us to serve and defend our motherland. Fellow Kenyans, as we go about our daily routine, building our nation, let us always remember those visionary words of our national anthem. In particular, our young Kenyans must know that our freedom was not given to us on a silver platter. It was fought for, and we must continue to defend it at all times. Men and women, most of whom are no longer with us, and some who you see here today, quite elderly now, fought to free us from the oppression and indignity of colonialism. They endured immense cruelties and indignities, but they remained strong and united in the struggle. Their movement changed the world. They struggled forward as Africans, united to their brothers and sisters in the different colonies by the desire to forge a free and prosperous Africa. Indeed, today my challenge to our youth is to keep the flame of our freedom fighters alive and keep Kenyans united as we all work. You have in you the spirit, the great women who fought to bring life to an independent Kenya, and always remember them, and we must betray their cause. We are, yes, independent, but we must remember that our nation has new enemies, and our freedom faces new threats. We have men and women in uniform today who are standing in harm's way, away from home, to safeguard our liberties. We salute those who have fallen in the line of duty. We honor their sacrifice, and we thank them and their families from the very bottom of our hearts. Fellow Kenyans, the first generation of independent Kenyans knew political independence was important, but not sufficient to build a free, secure, and prosperous country. They knew it to free ignorance and disease. To forge ahead, they introduced economic and development plans. They sought to build sufficient prosperity for the country to be able to defeat poverty, ignorance, and disease. Their policies helped us develop the biggest and most diverse economy in East and Central Africa. We went from having one referral hospital in 1963 to 6 public ones today, in addition to a host of private ones. With better health and nutrition, Kenyans today are living nearly twice as long on average as their fathers did at independence. Moreover, far fewer mothers die in childbirth. We have cut child mortality to a quarter of what it was in 1963, and in the last few years, we have greatly accelerated this progress. From a handful of graduates from a single university at independence, millions of Kenyans are today graduates of more than 60 universities, and from being required to have passes to move from one place to another, Kenyans have in millions traveled to every part of the world and won respect for their hard work, honesty, and ambition. We are building today new and modern roads connecting every part of our country. The days of road journeys that took weeks in vehicles that kept getting stuck in mud are fast falling behind us. Our port in Mombasa is the busiest in the region and the fastest improving. From our international airports, you can journey directly to dozens of destinations on 4 continents. Fellow Kenyans, transforming Kenya from a nation of poverty to prosperity requires more than a single generation, or one term, or one set of leaders. Those countries that started off at the same level as we were in the 1960s are today prosperous, most of them in Asia. This prosperity is because they focused on development and did not entertain misappropriation of public resources. Even when their leaders changed, their development plans were sustained. They were united and committed to good governance and achievement of their national aspirations. We celebrate today that we are a free people, able to chart our own destiny and build a better future together. We, however, need to use better our hard-earned freedom to build our economy, create jobs for our young people, conquer hunger, and improve access to quality education and healthcare. Success in this regard calls for unity of purpose around the national development plans already in place, such that every leader who comes to power sustains the effort. And to that end, I am very grateful to my brothers and sisters who we competed with last year, but who have come together to work together with us to make Kenya prosperous, led by my elder brother, Honorable Raila Odinga, and we are grateful to them, and we shall work together for this nation. From sessional paper number 10 of 1965 to Vision 2030 of 2008, as well as the 2010 Constitution, Kenyans have produced excellent plans that have been adopted by other countries to transform their economies and achieve prosperity that we envy today. We need to do better to implement our plans and make their results responsive to the ideals enshrined in our Constitution. And we all have a part to play, and to do so in a responsible and respectful manner. Our political class has to step up and focus on the people and on keeping them united by practicing politics of uniting Kenyans against our common enemy, that is poverty, ignorance, and disease. Our job as leaders is very simple. It is to work for the people of Kenya every single day, to rebuild the bonds of brotherhood between our peoples, and to weave a new and stronger fabric of patriotism and nationhood that we as a country so desperately require. Fellow Kenyans, last year on Jamhuri Day, I unveiled the Big Four agenda in response to what I had heard Kenyans wanted their government to do for them. You expressed very clearly in the election season, as well as in previous years, the growing frustration of joblessness among our youth, the high cost of basic foods, scarcity of affordable housing, and limited access to health care. The Big Four responds to these needs. It is an accelerated development agenda designed to help us achieve the social and economic pillars of our Vision 2030 and our 2010 Constitution. We decided to have manufacturing as one of the four pillars of the Big Four in order to grow a larger national cake. Our aim is to sharply raise the contribution of manufacturing to our national income as a means to achieve shared prosperity, and that is why my administration will continue to push the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya philosophy. And I expect all Kenyans to support this strategy. To attract investors, both local and foreign, we as a government have been investing heavily in power generation, roads and railway, education and health. It is also the reason we are working hard to make it easier for business to be conducted in Kenya. If we cannot compete effectively, our dreams of a prosperous country with decent jobs for all will not happen. A single example of the kind of ambition we have brought to this task is reflected in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business rankings. The latest report identified 5 key reforms that we undertook in the past year to improve the business climate for small and medium-sized businesses. We are now in position 61 globally from a rank of 80 last year, making us one of the most improved countries in the world. This, however, is still not good enough, especially with regard to small and medium-sized businesses which still have to contend with far too much red tape and corruption. With the deepening of Huduma Mashinani, we remain hopeful to see better progress in cutting the red tape and corruption. But I must make it clear, it is important and urgent that those in our regulatory agencies at both the national and county level start to shed their gatekeeping mentality and instead embrace the role of being facilitators for business and trade. For those who continue to treat their public offices as toll stations to harass wananchi, the broom that is sweeping across the nation will soon find its way to your doorsteps. As a government, we remain committed to do more for our micro-sized manufacturers in the Juakali sector, as it is a major employer of our people. We are currently working with the banking sector on redesigning the Micro and Small Enterprises Authority Fund so that we can unlock much-needed affordable credit for our small businesses. We will strengthen legislation that enables rather than hinders their efforts and offer access to affordable technology that will help them improve their productivity and competitiveness. Our efforts are translating to foreign and domestic investors, realizing that with every passing day, Kenya is one of the best destinations in which to build their enterprises. My administration will keep its foot on the pedal in making Kenya more and more open to good and honest entrepreneurs. Turning to the housing pillar, this initiative is anchored under the Affordable Housing Program that will, among other benefits, deliver 500,000 affordable homes. In the last 12 months, we have laid an appropriate legal and policy foundation that provides the platform to transform our housing sector for the better. This is the first time that public-private partnerships will be so instrumental in the provision of affordable homes. As promised 1 year ago, we have established now the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, whose sole remit will be to work with the banking sector and the cooperative movement through SACCOs to make available affordable mortgage finance for those wishing to own a home. The Kenya Mortgage Finance Company will help to extend the tenure of housing loans from the current average of 7 years to at least 20 years. It will also assist in driving interest rates on mortgages to single digits. Further, after extensive debate, we finally received approval by the National Assembly to establish the Kenya Housing Development Fund. And I thank you, our members of Parliament, the trade unions, and the Kenya Federation of Employers for your support to this fund. The Housing Fund is the anchor of our private partnership-led housing model, and it is the fund that will be the primary off-taker of approved building developments designed and implemented under the program. I hope to launch the first of the many housing developments in a week's time from today. In parallel to these efforts, the private sector shall, by subscribing to the new Housing Development Framework Guidelines, be able to develop housing projects for offtake by the Housing Fund. With all of us working at full steam, the dream of creating 500,000 new homeowners is attainable. The benefits of this program will extend beyond the homeowners and will benefit thousands of households by creating jobs for workers in the construction industry and associated sectors. To guarantee affordability and promote domestic industries, the government will further encourage construction companies to use locally produced building materials and inputs such as doors, windows, hinges, sand and cement must and should be secured domestically. The third pillar of the Big Four is food security. There is no reason why Kenya cannot feed itself and make food affordable to all. And we will take every step to ensure that farming goes beyond subsistence and that every farmer is running a profitable business. We will reform our approach to input subsidies by introducing greater transparency in their funding and ensuring that subsidies benefit the farmers and not unscrupulous middlemen and brokers. We are taking measures also to reduce post-harvest losses, promoting crop and livestock insurance through the accelerated construction of water pans and the rehabilitation of old dams. We will sharply raise the total land under irrigation and begin to overcome the unpredictability of rain-fed agriculture. However, I wish too many of you have learned to regard farming negatively, but it does not have to be the case. You have acquired knowledge and have access to much useful information that can help transform the farms of your parents. And in this regard, I do urge our youth to seek support from various commercial banks, such as the Kenya Commercial Bank Foundation Program, to Jiajiri. During the graduation ceremony that I graced last week, the foundation committed to set aside annually some Kenya shillings 10 billion for the next 5 years to support youth micro businesses in agriculture, manufacturing, and services. The fourth pillar of the Big Four is affordable health care for all. Let me say that I'm very pleased to announce that I will be in Kisumu County tomorrow for the launch of the Universal Healthcare Pilot Program, which is a key milestone in our journey towards universal health coverage. The residents of Isiolo, Kisumu, Nyeri, and Machakos counties will receive free healthcare services in all health facilities from their local health centers all the way to the referral facilities. We will use the lessons learned from this pilot to refine and scale up the program to the rest of the country over the next 18 months. Ladies and gentlemen, since I took office in 2013, it has been my administration's singular focus to position Kenya as a preferred gateway to Africa for domestic, regional, and international investment. We are succeeding, but there is far more that we can do together. First, we cannot continue to have electoral cycles that bring business investment to a halt every 4 years. 99% of Kenyans wake up every day thinking about their livelihoods and therefore how to grow our economy. And it is not right that electoral politics, which occupies such a small part of their daily lives, should have such far-reaching impact on their economic well-being. I also believe that the private sector, which employs 90% of our working population, must actively seek to become more regionally and globally competitive. And we in government will work with you to facilitate you realize this aspiration. Through our frequent roundtable interactions, we have taken on board the pressing needs of our private sector and will continue to work together to address emerging issues. We have started the process of improving import and export logistics through port and rail, and we have reined in the once rampant businesses of illicit trade in counterfeits, and we have commenced the intergovernmental process necessary to streamline taxes and levies at county level. On your part, we expect our private sector to show greater commitment to upholding acceptable business codes of ethics, shun corruption, and pay your taxes as you should. At the regional level, Kenya is ambitious to be an attractive destination for all innovative and entrepreneurial East Africans. We also encourage Kenyans to invest and trade in other East African countries, which are our most important partners. Kenya is a strong supporter of deeper regional integration in the East African community and Africa as a whole. Fellow Kenyans, security is a key enabler for us to achieve the agenda that we have set out for ourselves. And it is for this reason that we have remained focused on steps to defeat the jihadist terrorists. We have disrupted many planned attacks by our enemies and have prosecuted and jailed their operatives. An even larger group of Kenyan citizens is standing up to prevent and reverse radicalization. Through our diplomacy and our military, as part of the African Union force, we will continue the support for the stabilization of Somalia. However, I wish to call upon all Kenyans to remain very vigilant. The enemy lives and walks amongst us, and it is every citizen's duty to protect our motherland. Do not be silent when you see them scheming to kidnap our youth for use as child soldiers, or when you see them planning to ambush and attack our homes, our villages, or our soldiers. We must unite and work together as the government and citizenry, hand in hand, to help those who can be helped to reform and to flush out those elements that remain determined to cause us harm. Fellow Kenyans, as we have done for decades, we will continue to support the peace building and conflict resolution in South Sudan, and we remain encouraged by growing peace between Ethiopia and Eritrea, and for the dropping of international sanctions against Sudan. We will work with every one of these countries to strengthen the peace, to eliminate any havens of terrorists and extremists, and to replace bullets and grenades with trade and investment. 2 years ago, Kenya undertook to host the first ever global conference on harnessing the world's maritime resources in a sustainable manner. And last month, we successfully held the first ever Sustainable Blue Economy Conference, which was attended by some 17,000 registered participants from 183 countries out of the 206 countries in the world. Without doubt, this conference was a turning point for Kenya, for Africa, and for many other parts of the world, in that new investments in the blue economy will lead to enormous growth in Kenya's economy, create thousands of maritime-related jobs, and increase food and nutrition security, as well as enhance environmental sustainability. As a country, we will adopt the recommendations made at the conference and turn them into opportunities to advance Kenya's development. Fellow Kenyans, and for the sake of being repetitive, we will not realize our vision for a better Kenya, for all Kenyans, unless we as a people work together to conquer the monster of corruption. It is for this reason that we have deepened that war against corruption. As part of our anti-corruption strategy, we have signed bilateral mutual legal assistance agreements with a number of countries in the world, which is making the world a very small place for corruption kingpins. There is almost no way to hide ill-gotten wealth, and once we have proved that it is stolen money, the agreements that we have signed provide for the assets to be returned to the Kenyan people. In the same breath, we shall continue our cooperation with foreign investigative agencies to counter the dangers of transnational crimes, particularly drug and child trafficking. We shall not allow Kenya to be a base of operation for drug lords, and our resolve on this matter should not be tested. Kenya will push hard to lead in urging the multilateral financial and political system to take more action to stop corporations from illegally avoiding taxes, disregarding environmental responsibility, and acting with cruelty and contempt against citizens of countries in which they have invested. Here at home, I remain committed to strengthening governance institutions, entrenching the rule of law, and stamping out corruption. Through the efforts of our investigative agencies and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, individuals who may have thought they were untouchable are now facing the full force of the law. Those individuals, I agree, deserve fair trials, but nothing more than that. I am calling once again for our judiciary to ensure that its procedures are not used to protect impunity. Kenyan spirits are dampened when we witness suspects released on ridiculously low bail terms, interference in legislative processes and the use of the court process to delay justice. All arms of government must work together to ensure that our nation gets rid of this menace once and for all. To those engaged in fraud and abuse of office, I plead with you once again to listen to me keenly. You can run, but you will never hide. We will catch up with you and make you pay dearly for every coin stolen from Kenyans. And to you, the people of Kenya listening to my address today, please, as I have said, it is time for you to stop watching from the sidelines. It is time for all of us to become active participants in this war. It is time for you to say enough, be it to a policeman or a governor, a clerk, a cabinet secretary, a judge, or a politician. Nobody entrusted to hold public office has the right to demand a bribe from you or to squander what you have all earned hard from the sweat of your brow. I have shown you my unshakable resolve on this matter. Now I need all of you to join hands together with me to make this a reality. Report incidents of corruption to your local Directorate of Criminal Investigations. And if they do not listen, report to your nearest Ethics and Anti-Corruption Office. And if they don't listen, give the information to the media, to civil society, actors, to unmask these people. Please, fellow Kenyans, do not tire of doing the right thing. Early January next year, I hope to attend a national anti-corruption conference organized by stakeholders from the private sector, religious leaders, and civil society. I am grateful that our brothers also in the opposition have agreed to join hands with us at that conference, where we can come out with one resolve to defeat this menace. I am hopeful that this conference will come up with a roadmap that we can all adapt to further this war in order to get rid of this cancer. While still on the matter of corruption, let me say that I am proud once again this year that we frustrated the criminal cartels that had laid siege to our education system in the years past. We have delivered yet another credible set of national examinations for our Class 8 and Form 4 students. To those who have completed Class 8, proceed to secondary school, remain committed to working hard, behave decently, love your country, and protect it from its enemies, and most importantly, embrace integrity. We are counting on you to take over from us and lead this country to the next stage of development. In our continued efforts to develop an education sector that empowers Kenyans to be engaged citizens and competitive entrepreneurs, my government is increasing investment in free and now compulsory primary and secondary education. We shall continue to improve the quality of teaching and the infrastructure of our learning institutions. With government providing free education at the basic level, there is no reason for any child not to be in class. I expect all national and county government officials to shoulder full responsibility personally and collectively towards the achievement of our basic education policy goals, especially the 100% transition from primary to secondary schools. Following the conclusion of the selection of Form 1 students in 2019, I will hold education officials, chiefs, and assistant chiefs accountable for enforcing full compliance to this policy. Each of them must keep track of learners who sat for this year's KCPE within their respective jurisdictions and ensure that all of them report to secondary school. Let me now turn to our policemen and women. Building on the last 5 years, of strengthening the National Police Service from increased recruitment, training, to equipment, we have made a quantum leap in the hardware of our security services. However, for us to see a complete transformation of our police, we must also focus on the software. My administration has prioritized the improvement of the personal welfare of our police service, and I wish to assure Kenyans that we are firmly on course. Our new housing policy for uniformed officers has commenced, with disbursement of housing allowances underway. This will enable general duty officers to gain decent accommodation across the country. The goal of these reforms is to create a renewed policing regiment with a new generation of officers who are dedicated as well as motivated. Fellow Kenyans, let me end my address today by urging, especially our young people, to embrace once again the wisdom of our national anthem. Take the path of becoming patriots who work hard in unity to grow our country's leadership in every field of human endeavor. I promise to continue walking this journey with you. Do not allow yourselves to be allured to promises of wealth from corruption or ill-gotten wealth. Our founding fathers of this nation built businesses, farmed hard, sought new knowledge, and practiced politics of unity and democracy even when they argued amongst themselves. They built a foundation upon which we stand today. Let us learn from their triumphs, but also learn to avoid their pitfalls. And you too will help build a Kenya that is a catalyst for the renaissance of Africa, and indeed, that is the spirit of our Building Bridges initiative. We can only reach our destination as a united people who see in their challenges not a call to cynicism, but rather an opportunity to contribute solutions. Let us all, therefore, in one accord and in common bond united, build this nation of ours together for the glory of Kenya. The fruit of our labors may fill every single heart with thanksgiving, and let us love and honor our precious heritage. Tufungie hapo kwa kuwatakia Wakenya wote a very, very Merry Christmas, and working hard together, let us see 2019 becoming a much more prosperous, inclusive society for all. Mungu awabariki na Mungu awalinde. Asanteni sana sana sana.